Hey everyone, this is Cameron from Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. We are everywhere where podcasts can be found. If you want to, consider supporting our Patreon. That way, we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the vibrant, colorful world of animation. And now, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And boy, we have a very exciting episode tonight. We've got reviews for Her Blue Sky, The Colors Within, and Dogman. But first, we're going back to 2019 with Her Blue Sky.
All right, so let's talk about this first. Because if you know anything about this movie, not that it's an infamous movie in any way, it's more the fact that it took what, 4 or 5 years to finally make its way stateside.
Yeah, it was like 5 years, I think.
Yeah, because this movie was released in 2019. And y'all would be wondering, like, man, why are you guys talking about such a quote unquote old movie? Why aren't you talking about the new stuff? Why haven't you talked about like the bad guys too? Haven't you seen the bad guys too? It's like, no, we haven't. Calm down. This is because for some reason or another, this animated movie from director Tatsuyuki Nagai, written by Mario Okada, created by the Super Peace Busters team that made work like Toradora, Anohana, and Anthem of the Heart, which makes so much sense when you realize that's who crafted this experience.
Oh, yes.
Like it came out in 2019, and people were like, well, this is going to come over here, right? And for some reason, Netflix got the streaming rights to this, even though it's a Toho distributed movie, which I'm going to assume at one point or another, G Kids is going to release it on Blu ray. And they just sat on it. Don't know why they waited so long to release this movie because they would have, you would think at the very least, they would have released it in 2021. But no, it finally got released last year under the radar because Netflix was already aware what their big golden goose was for awards season, and that was Wallace and Gromit Avengers Most Foul. But also, technically, this movie wouldn't have been able to qualify for Oscars because of the time period between its original release and its US release.
Yeah, that
I,
makes sense.
if I recall, it's like a 2 year period where it can qualify for Oscars, but you have to actually bring it over. And it's a shame that it took so long. I was very amazed to just finally out of the blue while checking what's coming to Netflix on, the Netflix app and seeing Her Blue Sky just pop up. And it's like, wait a minute, really? And I had to, double take, making sure I was not seeing things. Out of the blue, this one random animated film that was produced by Cloverworks is now a streaming exclusive here in the US. And it's not like this got hung up on anything like, say, Mamoru Hosoda's new movie that's coming out later this year or anything of the sorts. It's just weird. Like, this isn't a cabin in the woods situation where studios sat on a movie for who knows how long, for a year or two, and then it's like, oh, this person got big, better release the movie and all that jazz. It's weird. Movie distribution is weird sometimes.
Indeed.
So let's talk about the movie. High school student Aoi lives with her elder sister Akane after a tragic accident took their parents away 13 years ago. Because Akane has since been taking care of her single handedly. Aoi wants to move to Tokyo after her graduation to relieve her sister's burden and pursue a musical career. inspired by Akane's ex-boyfriend Shinosuke Shino Kanamuro. Shino was part of a band until he left for Tokyo to become a professional guitarist after the sister's parents passed away, and he was never to be seen again. Man, Letterbox is so weird with how they do this in some regards. It's like how they describe movies like this. And I'll be honest, when I watched this movie today, I was very unsure about where the direction was going because at first I thought we were just going to focus on Shinosuke. And then I realized, like, oh, the Akane and her little sister are the ones we're following now. And spoilers from here on out, Aoi ventures into this one. It's not really a temple, it's like a shed out in the woods or like some kind of cabin home area where Shinosuke's band played way back when. And you find Shinosuke still there, still the redheaded, energetic individual that he was. It's like, okay, so what's the going on here? How is he still here? Only for then when Aoi is with her sister Akane and the tourist manager are welcoming a enka singer, do they find out that Shinosuke is playing guitar for this famous singer? This movie throws a lot of twists and turns. Like, and I wasn't really expecting that because when I saw that, well, like when they show that the Shinosuke that's in the shed or cabinet thing, he can't leave there. And it's like, oh, I get it. He died or whatever.
But nope.
I was like, oh my gosh, this movie is going places. And I was very excited about it. It does a lot. It has coming of age elements for Aoi to like, learn about what she wants to do with her life. There's growing pains and regrets between Akane and Shinosuke. And then there's the whole element of growing up. And even though you want to hold on to pieces of your past to truly move forward, you have to let go of them to keep moving, to keep growing as characters. Like, man, this is one of those things where Mario Kata is on her A game with how she pulls the emotional gut punches on you.
She
Yeah.
does that a lot, mostly in the second half, but it gets pretty heart-wrenching and in very crucial areas.
And it's a very lovely story. I really wish this was the animated Cloverworks film we got last year instead of, oh, I forgot that Traposium or whatever it was called.
Oh, trapezium.
Yeah, because while, yes, let's get it out of the way quickly. This is a very gorgeous movie. It's Cloverworks. They are one of the best animation teams and studios around in Japan. There's a reason why they have, for the most part, consistently great looking work. And the beautiful, I'm going to assume, filtered environmental shots, like, they took a photorealistic picture and then painted over it all with a filter. Not like a Gen AI filter thing. This was 2019. This was way before.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Some incel in Silicon Valley said, I want to hate artists so much right now. But it looks great. The characters are well animated. They have weight to them until the last third, but we'll get to that. That's not a criticism. It's, we'll get to it. The character designs are good looking. They look very much like characters you would see animated from a Cloverworks production, which means a lot of pointy chins. Not like super Sailor Moon S or whatever that reboot of Sailor Moon was, like pointy, but you know what I mean if you've seen enough Cloverworks pictures.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
It's like how Science Saru has the wobbly, what's it called, rubber hose animation style a lot
Yeah.
of the times, except for, well, when we get to the colors within. And or Studio Trigger with its bombastic hyper visuals and what have you. Your every studio is going to have their own visual look or touch to what they do. And her blue sky, like where this one works and trapezium falters, is the fact that while Aoi almost comes off as unbearable because she's an angsty teenager, the characters are much more likable here. And we aren't following some like jerk who is manipulating people for their own selfish gain.
Characters all seem fairly grounded as far as like their age and their personality. There were some times maybe at the start where I kind of found Aoi a little bit grating, but that's just because teenagers are grating at that age.
You get to that age point where you think everything sucks and the world sucks and the world is constantly frustrating, which, yes, it is, even to right now, as I am 35. It is a constantly frustrating world to be in sometimes. But you understand the emotional hangups of all the characters. Shinosuke left a metaphorical piece of him in the past because he grew up and finally became a musician, a guitarist. But when Akane and Aoi would not stay or, go to Tokyo or whatever, it was like he left what he found to be the best part of his life back in that hometown of theirs. And it's a very cool idea that, and they don't just do it like, oh, Shinosuke and Shino are never in the same like frame or shot or scene or location. There is a point later on where Shino and Shinosuke do actually connect with one another. And you see the conflict of interest between the younger version and the older version, where the older version got to his dreams, but his dreams died because he's playing backup for some old crooner singer.
Hmm.
I really like that concept of Shino and Shinosuke being entirely different characters, even though, they're the same person.
Yeah. I think like the English voice cast does a great job. Obviously, they're going to sound different because they're 13 years apart, but still, even personality wise, there's a clear distinction between Shino and Shinosuke.
Edward Hong and Anthony Ma are really good playing off of one another. I love also the dynamic between Aoi and Akane. Like Aoi feels so like doesn't feel like her own individual character. She feels like she's a burden, a weight to Akane because she feels like Akane has had to live her life trying to take care of Aoi, where Akane is also feeling like the whole romantic connection was lost between her and Shinosuke. And Aneyatko is also really good. Like the dub cast is very good.
I even like the voice actor who does Nitobi, Ronald Banks. He's so over the top in like every single one of his line deliveries that it's just perfect.
Oh yeah. And I like that for the most part, none of the characters were unlikable. I was kind of ready for Natobi to be extremely skeevy, but he's more aloof and blissfully optimistic and positive. It was cool to see all of these characters work off of one another. Though Otaki was probably my least favorite character of the bunch, just because she never really had much going for her outside of dreaming of getting a boyfriend or getting married. Which, by God, that career coach or teacher at the school, like, what a capital the buzzkill. That guy is not supportive of anyone's dreams. It
Nope.
was, I don't know if it was meant to be a joke or like it was intentional and what have you, but it's like, oh, Owie, you want to be a band? Well, don't quit your day job. And it's like, you're terrible at this job. And then Otaki's just like, I want to get married. And he's just like, okay, then you're going to join the workforce. It's like, and she's like, no, 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 you don't get it. I'm going to get married. I'm going to find a great guy. And he's just like, and you're going to join the workforce. Okay.
Next.
Man, any school would just fire you. But like all these kids would complain about that teacher. It is absurd how buzzkill he is. And I also like the little touches of character beats that they leave in, like the whole rice ball thing being filled with kelp, just because Akane made them for Aoi. And even though Shinosuke jokingly hated on him because it's just like I wanted tuna mayo. And listen, I live next to our next, well, not next to, but down the road from a Japanese grocery store, and I understand the hype behind a tuna mayo rice ball. They're delicious, but I really think this is one of those Mario Kata scripts that were able to balance out the romance, the beauty of life, and the need to move forward, to grow as a person. Because sometimes when Mario Kata can get caught up in the melodrama of her scripts, it can be a little much. Though I still will cry at Makia when the promised flowers bloom because that's just a beautiful, beautiful story. So, I mean, what's your take about the story and like the overall execution of it, of what these characters are going through?
I really got invested in Shino's story the most because, like what you said earlier, it made all of his regret like a tangible character. That's basically who the living ghost is. And it's just kind of fun to see his reaction to the world 13 years later.
It's such a mature movie. And for some reason, what popped up into my head while I watched these characters struggle to deal with their past and moving forward to the future of what they want to do with their lives was if Disney got their hand, like, got a hold of this kind of story, they would neuter so much of the poignant, beautiful moments that are in this movie and how why I love Japanese like story creatives and how a lot of foreign films are not going to dumb down for a specific audience and such where I don't know, maybe I just got extremely burned out by Disney from last year and the frustrating disappointment of Moana 2 and what have you, but it's like rewatching this movie and the two other movies that we're talking about. It's like, wow, this is what it looks like to let creatives create. You kind of forget about that when a lot of times you are watching films and TV where you know a heavy rewrite or stack of studio notes came in at certain points. I mean, we are in February and we are going to talk about win or lose, which, that whole debacle. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that at time, like when we do. And just watching these characters like have quiet moments of talking or rekindling their friendship or romance. There really wasn't much of a overarching like conflict of interest outside of Shinosuke just like remembering the beauty of like the smaller interactions and just of life in general. Same with the other characters.
I like that scene where Shinosuke is just, you know, sitting there playing his guitar, and then Akane just comes by to, hear some of her old favorites from his I think it was his first solo record.
Yeah. He's one of those like I made one album and then I burned out and now I play back up to a crooner or what is essentially a crooner like performer. Though I could be wrong of comparing crooners to Inca singers, but it's interesting where the movie goes like in the third act because that's really where the somewhat I mean, I'm not going to say it's a contrived conflict because it's a great sequence when Shino and Shinosuke finally butt heads with one another, and how younger Shinosuke is just like, listen, I am so mad that I grow up to be you, but please tell me it doesn't suck. Like, remember the beauty and just wonders of like the people you bond with and the music you make. And then the fact that they like Shinosuke metaphorically and literally was tied to the red guitar that was inside the building.
That was a good touch.
And when he gets pulled out, the guitar strings break. And then both of them are in the same spot because Akane was looking for Nitobe's necklace thing, pendant, and gets trapped in a landslide in a tunnel. And then it's like, oh, we gotta go save her. And then Shinosuke is finally waking up and realizing, like, man, god dang it, I need to stop regretting the past. Honestly, a lot of this movie is about dealing with regret, which I know a lot of us have to deal with that. It's like, what if I did do that? Or what if I did do this? It's like, well, I feel bad that I was never able to do that. And it's like, okay, then keep moving forward. Don't let it restrain you and what have you. And then just the whole sequence of Aoi and Shino just flying through the air to get to the tunnel sequence. Beautifully done. Just wonderful animation. Comes out of nowhere. Just the whole supernatural flying thing, but
It does, but at that point, I was so invested in these characters. I'm like, yeah, sure, no, I'll follow whatever you're doing.
yeah, it's like whatever. I'm having a great time. It's interesting how they deal with side characters in this movie because Otaki is like probably the least interesting, but I do like Nakamura and how he's trying to be a good dad to Masa Sugu, who is acting like a little brother, and it's just like I'm going to be a good student for Aoi because I have a crush on her. It's like, okay, buddy, you're out of your league, but I get it. Young love, games smitten when you're young and you start to actually think about that stuff. I will say, how did the ghost or the past version of Sanosuke get Akane out of the tunnel?
That is a great question.
Because he shows up in there. It's like, okay, he's a ghost living spirit kind of thing. How did he get her out? Okay, we're not going to answer that. Okay, bye. I'm really glad that it didn't go through another direction of, oh, Shinosuke died and she has to let go of that. And she does. I mean, she does let go of the past self of Sanosuke, and so does Akane and Shinosuke himself. I really like that scene where it's like, don't worry, I'll make you some rice balls and they'll have tuna mayo in them. And that's what lets the younger Shinosuke finally move on. And I love that it's just like she should have just promised him tuna mayo rice balls at the very start and he would have just poofed out of existence, but then you wouldn't have a story or
Exactly.
anything compelling. It's just one of those moments where it's like, don't think too hard. I mean, that's really something that I think current audiences have lost the ability to.
Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. And I mean that it's ironic considering a lot of us do tend to overthink and overanalyze everything, but sometimes you just gotta let the vibe go, and it's okay to make a movie that is vibe and emotional logic forward first, because it also just led to a nice scene of younger Shinosuke closing his eyes, and then when his older self looks back, he's gone. It's a good scene. And I don't really have that much to talk about. I think it has issues with putting in conflict, but some of it is very good character based conflict.
That's the thing. We've seen a lot of anime films that are like 75% character focused or like kind of slice of life until like the third act throws in just some random conflict to like get us to the ending. It wasn't as egregious because like it wasn't like an earth-shattering disaster. It's just, hey, I got stuck in a landslide.
Yeah, I was just like, oh god, do not kill her, Mario Kata. But yeah, I really like this movie. It's one of those movies where it's like, okay, we finally have it and it's worth the hype. Because I've seen a lot of movies that are like that, where you wait years to finally see it or it's finally brought over and it's like, wow, I was excited for this. But this was one of those where I was like, yeah, now G Kids needs to find a way to put it on Blu-ray. So because they're not stopping with Blu-ray releases. I don't know where that rumor came from that they're not doing physical releases, but they are because Ghost Cat Anzu is coming out in March on Blu-ray. So if you haven't seen us talk about that, make sure to watch our episode, like where we talk about it, and just make sure to watch it. I'm putting it in my 2024 list, but I'm struggling to say it belongs in the top 10, mostly because it is a 2019 release. But that's like the only reason. And I hate to say it, I like it more than Look Back. I feel so
Oof.
bad. Like I love Look Back. I think it's a emotionally powerful movie, but I think its hype is just not on my wavelength. I don't think it's overblown because it was really good. I just didn't match it. That's all. And that's okay. So,
I think that's more than fair. I think for me, I probably won't place this in like my 2024 list because it came out in 2019, but I think this movie is just one of those that if you're looking for something to watch and you just happen to stumble upon it, definitely check it out. It is worth it if you've never seen it before.
I mean, Mario Kata's name alone should definitely give you a idea of what kind of experience it is. It's funny. We have almost three movies that have to deal with music because our second movie, The Colors Within, is a music based movie. It's not a musical, to be clear. It just has music as a core of its identity.
Yep.
So let's talk about this. I saw this last year at Animation is Film. Got to see Naoko Yamada there as well. But if you've heard her name before, she has done a lot of anime. She was the director behind Tamako's Market, K-On!, The Heiki Story, and the critically acclaimed A Silent Voice. Also, she did Liz and the Bluebird, which is also really, really good. She's one of the most acclaimed anime creatives out there right now. She did a lot of work for Kyo Annie, and then for whatever reason, maybe it's because of the arson incident, or it was just she just so happened to move to Science Saru for her next few projects because for whatever reason we don't know. I was hoping to ask her that question, but I was not able to. Hopefully, the next time I see her, or if I get to interview her, I'll make sure to ask that just out of curiosity. Anyway, let's talk about this movie. So, like I said, directed by Naoko Yamada, written by Reiko Yoshida, animated by Science Saru, distributed by Toho, and brought over to the States by G Kids, which is now a Toho adjacent company. So, high school student Totsuko has the ability to see people as colors and is partially fascinated with the color she sees in her classmate Kimi. After following Kimi to a used bookstore, Totsuko accidentally implies she can play piano, leading to her joining a band with Kimmy, who can play guitar, and Rui, a boy who collects musical equipment and plays the theremin. The trio's friendships develop as they write music and confront issues in their home lives. First off, not that this is like making it a 10 out of 10 movie, but how cool is it that one of the main characters plays a theremin?
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Because I know a lot of people like are going to think about that one smiling friend sequence before they get abducted by UFOs, or they just think of the like whoa, like supernatural, old school, spooky horror music instrument. But here, like when you see Rui use the theremin, it's like, wow, that is extremely versatile. I am shocked more people don't do this or use it to that extent. It was just nice to see not just, oh, a guitar, a piano player, and a drummer kind of setup. It adds like a different flavor to the overall movie.
Yeah, that being the trio is certainly unique. Something I wasn't expecting, but a very welcome surprise.
Because this is, yet another coming of age drama slash comedy anime film, which, they like to make those just as much as American filmmakers like to make superhero movies. And I mean, like, anytime you've seen a coming of, like, every country has a coming of age
Oh yeah.
movie fixation. Anime just so happens to be a very hot button area of the filmmaking world where they make a lot of them because there's a beauty to focusing on a bunch of teenagers or a teenager, depending on the movie in question, about the struggle of finding yourself and what you want to do in the future. And that is the most common theme in this movie. It's a trio of teenagers who find commonality with music, figuring out what they want to do with their lives. And it's good. It's a movie that is definitely more vibe heavy,
Oh, it is.
where it takes a lot of times for the music to play and to set the mood, where you kind of know what's going to happen with these characters. It's not a bad thing, mind you. These characters, this trio is very likable. I loved each of their characters. So I will say it is interesting how Totsuko like is set as the main character, but it's a lot of it is Kimmy also, where Rui maybe gets the least amount of development, even though they all have satisfying arcs. Or maybe Totsuko gets the least amount of character development because her major thing is she wants to see what her color is because she can tell Kimmy is blue, Rui is green, and she doesn't find her own color. So it's interesting to watch the movie kind of shift to Totsuko's perspective of Rui and Kimmy. Or at least that's what my takeaway was when I watched this movie again.
I can see how you would come to that conclusion. By the way, thinking about it now, it is I just realized that the colors of the trio is RGB, red, blue, and green.
Very nice touch. A lot of this movie is, like I said, very atmospheric. It's slow, which I can understand why some people may not vibe with this movie. Like, there are so many times where they just let like simple guitar playing and theremin sounds fill the void, where they just let the visuals tell the mood and the story. And I think it works here. I know sometimes it can be like, oh gosh, okay. We're dealing with someone trying to make a story feel more important than it actually is. But it's working off of that emotional vibe, just like Look Back, just like Her Blue Sky, like a lot of anime, like in a lot of Japanese productions. Just roll with it on an emotional level.
Exactly. Also, the fact that Totsuko has synesthesia, It kind of makes animation the perfect medium to tell this story because that's really the only way that you can properly visualize synesthesia for those who don't have this phenomenon and can kind of get a better picture of what it's like to see people as colors.
It's like you can tell what kind of people they are through the colors that you see them through, or at least that's how this movie uses synesthesia to its advantage because Kimmy is very dour, very blue, like not just because of how vibrant and varied the color blue can be, but like did they fully explain that she got kicked out or she left school?
I don't think she got kicked out. I think she just
Stopped
left.
going. Yeah. They make that a big deal. They say there are a lot of rumors about why she leaves, but they don't matter. And by the end of it, it doesn't matter. She felt alone. She was depressed. Then she found friendship and connection with Totsuko and Rui. Rui is dealing with the fact that he feels pressure from his mom to continue the family, what's the word? Pharmacy or like doctor's office. But he finds beauty and wonder in, life with playing music. Which, by the way, I love the moment where he's just walking along the cram school and he sees the bench with the keyboard and the wires, and the sign says just take whatever you want. And it's like perfect. And it's like, oh, he's going to take the keyboard and the wires. No, he lifts the bench up to the church.
I was thinking of Friends.
Oh, yeah.
Pivot, pivot.
Pivot. Oh, I love that scene too. It was just so funny. I remember that got a huge laugh out of everyone when it's just like, oh, okay. And then he walks in with the bench and everyone's like, whoa, okay. And another big moment of comedy and laughing was when Totsuko like blatantly lies about it's like, oh, we are forming a band and we're looking for people. I mean, not really. Like, we just got started. We don't even know what kind of band we are. And he's just like, I would love to join. Oh, but I mean, it's Kimmy's band. It's like it's her choice to decide and whatnot. And Kimmy's like, yeah, I'd love to. And then she's like, I am caught in my own web of lies. Oh gosh. And I kind of got the which sister was it? Sister
Uh,
Hyoshiko?
yeah,
The I kind of got that she used to be in a band or did ballet and such.
she was just too cool with whatever Tatsuko was doing. That's like, wait, something
Yeah,
doesn't
no.
add up here.
Because everyone else was just like acting like nuns and what you do at this. It's a Christian school, right?
I have to assume that's the case.
I found it interesting. You made a very interesting comparison with what was the movie that you compared this
Oh,
to?
Sing Street.
Yeah, that's a good movie. Why did you compare the two of those?
I found a little bit of similarity between like the camaraderie between the band and the fact that the movie ends with like a big performance at the school.
Yeah, you get your own like little mini concert of three songs at the end before it's like Rui leaves to finish school and Kimmy and Totsuko continue on with their school. I thought it was also interesting that Totsuko did ballet, but she gave up on it because it just wasn't her passion. And her drive to try to find something to do with her life was a good igniting point for the story. And how it's like, because they do actually let the characters talk with the parents. The parents are they or I say parents, but it's like parents, single mom, and grandmother, and how all the characters talk with them about what drives them and such, and how the movie really just wraps up with all of them, knowing what they want and moving on with their lives. And the music, man, just very good music. I was curious to see how, like, it's been a while since I've seen Kaye, so I don't know if there are actual like musical numbers and such from that show. But I wanted to see how Naoko Yamada would work with a pseudo musical aspect to the movie where we see the three perform at the end and they have their own songs that have their own emotional vibe to them. Where the first one is very rock and roll heavy, very loud, angry at points. And then the second one is sad but beautiful. Like it's that somberness that grabs you. And then at the very end, it's the very poppy, like the galaxy is amazing. There's so many stars out there. Amen. Like a lot of G Kids productions, the dub actually translates the music, which is something that Her Blue Sky did not do. Which that's kind of like a flip of the coin with Netflix adaptations and dubbing. They may adapt the music, but then that means they would have to give the dubbing studio time to really work with that. One of the cast members for the English dub for The Colors Within is Kylie McNeil. And if you are a G Kids fan, you would recognize her from the dub of their release of Belle, where she played the main character.
Yep. She is pretty much the sole reason I was looking forward to the dub of The Colors Within because I follow her on Instagram and I saw like a little snippet of her. I was thinking it was like behind the scenes of recording one of the songs. It was the Planet song. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, okay. I totally understand why they went in this direction.
Now, I only found that Kinsuke Ushiro posed the music, which the music's very lovely, mixing both classical, some lighter weight tunes, and the instrumental parts of the three songs that they play at the end with the overall soundtrack.
Those songs are lovely and I could honestly just listen to those just like on their own. They're that good.
Oh yeah, they were very good. I loved them. I know you can get the Japanese version of the soundtrack on iTunes. I don't know when they will have the English version because you can do that with the Bell soundtrack on iTunes. And I'm not sure if the Inuo does that because if I recall, they don't dub the songs in Inuo, but I could absolutely be wrong and such. So it's a lovely movie, The Colors Within, and it just reinforces why Naoko Yamada is so good at what she does, at her craft. There's a reason why she's one of the few female like anime creatives that you can think of. And unfortunately, it's very hard to find female creatives that have the quality of Naoko Yamada and her work with Reiko Yoshida.
This is a very strong, I want to say it's a creative partnership because they work together on a lot of things like the Heike story and A Silent Voice. And I'm pretty sure they also work together on Kaye and
Tamako's Market.
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, yeah.
And Liz and the Bluebird.
Naoko Yamada works with a lot of music based like movies and projects. It's very because I know she did a little work on Sound Euphonium, but it's interesting to see kind of projects she gets pulled to and such. See her recent what was it? It was like a letterbox video where she did her like four favorite movies.
Oh yeah.
She like there's the Goonies and Cinema Paradiso, which yeah, very very good choices. I think those were like you could tell just by those movies what kind of creative she is. So I hope it's still playing right now because it is raking in a lot of money for G Kids at about $2.3 million right now. So hopefully they keep it in theaters a little longer. But I would not be shocked if they start to put it on digital very soon. Until then, if you can watch this movie, if you can find a way to watch it legally and support G Kids and to watch it, please do. The Colors Within is one of my favorite movies from last year. It's in my top 10 of the animated films at number 9 spots.
And it cracked my top 10 just overall last year. It's just that good.
Yeah, and there's a reason why at Animation is Film it won the Audience Award, and it tied with the wonderful Memoir of a Snail. Please give it a watch. Like, if you really want original or different animation, you have to watch these movies. Like, don't just say you want it, do it. Turn reaction to action. Because now, until we can watch the Looney Tunes movie, we are essentially caught up with 2024 animated movies. And we have to talk about the first official 2025 theatrical animated feature of the year, Dogman, which is written and directed by Peter Hastings for DreamWorks. And y'all would know him for his work on a lot of TV stuff like Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, a lot of the DreamWorks TV series like the Epic Tales of Captain Underpants and Kung Fu Panda Legends of Awesomeness. And Mike, what was the big surprise that you found out Peter Hastings worked on?
So he directed the Country Bears movie. I don't know how many of you even remember that movie, but that was a thing that came out the same year as Pirates of the Caribbean.
It's interesting how when you find a filmography by someone and then and like you look up all the work they've done, whether it's writing, directing, TV or movies and such, it's just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. They directed that movie because sometimes you could find like a really weird movie or project that someone worked on when they overall have a strong like library of experiences and work. And if the movie sounds familiar for those like with the title, it is based off of the it's a spinoff of the Dave Pilkey's Captain Underpants series, which was, adapted into a movie back in 2017. Kind of amazing that it took so long, but I understand they had a lot of stuff cooking.
That they
like
did.
between 2017 and 2025. And we follow, well, Dogman, which I have something to say about that, but we'll get to that in a moment. So, when a faithful police dog and his human police officer owner are injured together on a job, a harebrained but life saving surgery fuses the two of them together, and Dogman is born. Dogman is sworn to protect and serve and fetch. Sit and roll over. As Dogman embraces his new identity and strives to impress his chief, he must stop the pretty evil plots of feline supervillain Petey the cat. So, I want to talk about this one little detail about Dogman. To me, Dogman becomes a secondary protagonist. Like it's complicated. He is the main protagonist of the movie, but if you had to ask me who the movie is more focused on, it's Petey the cat. What's your take on this? Like, would you agree, or like, what's your perspective on how the story unfolds with Dogman?
The problem when it comes to characters who don't speak is it becomes difficult, not impossible, as evident by how critically acclaimed Flow became a movie with absolutely no dialogue. In a movie like this, though, it's different because while Dogman can't speak, he can still emote and do all that stuff. But you need a strong supporting cast around him, whether that's the chief or Sarah Hadoff, the news reporter, or the kinda sorta antagonist until he isn't, Pete Davidson as Petey. And I say this without a shred of irony. This is Pete Davidson's best performance. This is the role he was born to play.
I agree. This is by far and away his most vibrant performance of any of the films that he's been in. I know a lot of people liked him in King of Staten Island. I have not seen that, so I don't have a take on it. But from everything else I've seen, he is the most energetic I've seen him in with this movie. And I don't know what it is about the Captain Underpants and this movie in general. Maybe it's just the vibe or the way the voice director and director work with the actors. But they are, you see the celebrity voice cast, but you don't, except for maybe Ricky Gervais, see the celebrities there. It's very weird. Like, I don't know what it is about this because, an actor's whole job is to immerse you into the experience. And maybe it's because you don't see them in this movie because, it's animated and they do the voice work. But they find a way to not be just them talking over a mic or phone and such. So,
I will probably chalk that up to good voice direction and just good direction in general. Now that I kind of have a better idea of Peter Hastings' background, again, he wrote a lot of episodes of Animaniacs, so that sort of chaotic, like that manic energy is like seeped into every second of this movie. But before we get too far away from it, do you want to talk about the short that played in front of this?
oh, almost forgot about that. Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure it was a coincidence and timing of it all that they play a the bad guys short in front of Dogman, which not that this it's only 89 minutes. Never mind. I was a little amazed because I was like, did this really need a short in front of it? Oh, it's actually a much shorter movie than I thought it was. Okay. So the short in question is the bad guys trying to make it to their parole officer hearing, and they make it, and they obviously went through some stuff to get to this location. That's what the whole short is about. It's about them taking a comedically long time to get the parole hearing. It's cute. It's like it's got a lot of shenanigans that you would love from the first movie, like Piranha being violent as hell,
Hmm.
or Tarantula getting into some tech stuff that ends up with them getting shocked, or Mr. Snake, well, eating a bunch of chickens in the back of a truck. I will say, like, it's cute. I didn't laugh a whole lot, except for two major parts. One, when they're doing like, oh, and that's before this and before that, and it cuts to them playing chess with Mr. Snake being the one who's like repping them. He's like, huh, oh man, yeah, that was a pretty good move. And then the punchline at the end.
The punchline is so good.
It is worth the ticket price alone to hear the punchline of them like, yeah, so we made it with 10 minutes to spare. Well, I'd say that's a good the woman in front of them who they think is their like parole officer. It's like, well, that's a great thing to hear. You should probably tell your parole officer that because this is the post office. I understand. They get confused all the time. which me which makes it sound like it's just a soul sucking job. And it just leads with them having to then they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then they just rush off to get to their hearing. I also did like the whole sequence where they're like about to head into what they thought was the parole office, but then it's like they two thugs break into a bank to rob it and such, and just how amateur hour they were. It's like, oh, don't worry, you got time. The police will be here in 12
12
seconds.
seconds.
Like, this makes me excited for the bad guys too. That's coming out in, I think it's July, if I recall, unless DreamWorks and
Oh no, it's
Universal.
it's sooner than that.
It's funny because this year is, and I've talked about this before in previous podcasts, where it's like they're going months upon months.
I take that back. It's August.
Oh my god. They are really going months without letting there be animation in theaters. And I know we're going to get a lot of smaller releases. I get that. It doesn't really mean that we're getting no movies or animation between now and I think the next big theatrical one from the major US studios is Elio from Pixar, which is in June or so, I think.
Ooh,
Either way, what is going on with that? Like, man, August 1st. Phew. I'm excited, but it's like, come on. Give them all the time they need, but also make sure to not leave people starving, man.
exactly.
So back to Dogman. Do you think this movie works when PD is more the character that gets the development? Because Dogman doesn't really go through an arc.
I think that's fine. Not every main character needs to go through an arc. That's a flat character, whereas you could have a secondary, I guess PD is sort of the secondary protagonist because, and spoilers from this point on, PD is the world's most evilest cat, but he's not the only thing that Dogman has to face. There's another villain played by Ricky Gervais, Flippy the Fish, a fish with telekinesis.
Yeah, so during it's played like a gag with Little Rel Howery who plays the chief. So Little Rel Howery plays the chief, and the gag is that like he got a fish, he befriended the fish got smart, turned super evil, they killed it, or Dogman killed it, and then the scientists at the Super Science Center from across the police station like accidentally brought it back to life. Well, they fixed it. Well, no, Petey got a hold of the fish, fixed it up, was going to drop it in the science center.
The smoke shaft thing.
Yeah, the smoke shaft of the living spray factory.
Yes.
And then he becomes, for the most part, the villain that brings Dogman and Petey together, where Dogman goes through all the motions of like, oh, girlfriend left him, and oh, he's now part dog, and what have you. Petey deals with a much more, like, I'm not shocked of how complex this story arc is because I know the original creative and such, Dave Pilkey, even though their books are called Captain Underpants and Dogman, it's not like they didn't have things going on underneath the surface of the, childish humor and all that jazz. But Petey, in a attempt to find a new employee, clones himself, and what ends up, well, it's funny. It's like step one of the cloning process: put DNA in a machine. Step two, press the button, and then it turns into like a little child version of Petey. And then step three, wait 18 years for the clone to grow up. Like, this movie is very funny. I would say the first half is loaded more with jokes than the second half, but Peter Hastings' experience of working on stuff like Animaniacs really shines here. There are jokes at almost every turn in the first half
Oh, yeah.
of the movie, like when Petey's trying to go through like notes of like what's my next plan, what's my next one, and then at the very end, after he flips through all the paper like pages, the back of the notebook says like all out of pages, or all like the jokes in the foreground and the background. There's a lot going on. This is one of those movies where I would love to go through it again when it hits Peacock or Netflix so I can pause and take in all the jokes, kind of like the fun of watching an Aardman production. I love all like the pun names of Petey's schemes, and or like the how he gets himself out of jail at all times. Or my favorite gag is the life's not fair guy.
By the way, if you actually dial that number, there is a voice that just says, "Life's not fair."
That is wonderful marketing. I need to look that up because that's hilarious that they would do that. It's kind of like when Lego Batman came out. You could talk to Siri and just say, "Hey, pewter," and she would respond like Siri in the movie. Like it's really funny. It's there's a lot of good humor here. It's maybe almost a little too much. Like it could be a little hyper as a movie, but really the core of the movie that really stuck with me was how Petey reacts to working off of little Petey, where little Petey sees everything as like from a positive perspective, where Petey, because of his past, where his father left him and his mom with nothing, sees the world in a very hateful, like cynical view.
Glass half full versus glass half empty.
Exactly. And then at the like near the end, while like the slow buildup of Flippy the Fish's reign and all the buildings that come to life, they meet Petey's father, voiced by Stephen Root. This is probably the most interesting part of this movie for like an adult audience. Like if you're a parent listening to this and you're wondering, will there be anything here for me? Petey has like some broken family commentary about how he doesn't really trust his dad. And his dad turns out to be a real just bad dad material, like worst dad in animation, like contenders.
Oh yeah, Grandpa Pete's dad, he sucks. But Stephen Root is like he's just one of those actors who I even thought for a second it was Christian Slater because they sound that much alike, but that's just perfect casting for the type of character that he is asked to play.
Stephen Root is one of those great character actors who can weave between, like, he can move between super likable, doofy, and very scumbag ish. I mean, all you have to do is watch King of the Hill and Get Out to see, or Barry to see him move between the different tones. At the very end of the movie, there's no like, oh, I'm sorry, son, for being a bad dad or something like that. Let's
Nope, he's
reconnect.
he's just gone.
Yeah, he just leaves. He takes all of the stuff from the, super secret hideout of Petey the cat, which is, not so secret, but I digress. It's very interesting to see the movie have that kind of ending. It's wild because if this was Disney would have made it work out in the end. But Petey's whole arc is like, yes, people do suck. There are people who will disappoint you. But there are folks like Dogman and Little Petey who are there to brighten up your life and to show you a world through a different perspective. Like it's just interesting to see that like if Disney got their hands on this, they would have said like, "Oh, I'm sorry, son." Like they would have
Oh,
made happy ending it when it's like it's okay. Like this movie is more like, despite how silly it is, Dogman is more mature as a movie for letting that message in. Where it's like, yeah, sometimes there are some folks who are beyond redemption or who are not willing or ready or even want to change. It's just shocking.
and the irony is they kind of downplay this in the movie, but in the books, Dogman is like the in-universe comic created by George and Harold from Captain Underpants.
Oh yeah, you do see a brief visual cameo of George and Harold, like at one point when they're teenagers. When I thought it was just going to be one of those where they take place in the same universe because it's just an utterly silly universe. So
Yeah.
like, not that the second half doesn't work like with the first half. It is just there's a tone change about halfway through where they slow down on the jokes, even though they still have a lot of visual gags and what have you with the buildings coming to life and what have you. I love that first building coming to life and just having just so coincidentally walking into a pair of giant boots. I'm kind of mixed on the overall cast. I really like Dogman. I like Chief. I like the mayor. I really enjoyed Petey and Little Petey. I think the villain is weak. Like and I'm not just saying that because Ricky Gervais is voicing him and I don't like him. He's just a one note supervillain, and that's it. But this is probably one of Ricky's better voice performances.
I can say just objectively, he puts in a good performance. I probably would have preferred it be Richard Iotti, but or just someone else.
Else,
For what he's doing, it does the job. Now, something I wanted to ask, do you think maybe they throw just too much in this movie? Almost as if like this might be the only shot that we have to make a Dogman movie, so let's just throw everything in the kitchen sink.
I think it does because while the climax is a lot of fun and works really well to a degree, it's a lot because you not only have them stopping Flippy, you have the realization that people don't want to change with the re-abandonment of Petey's dad leaving them. And then you have the sweet ending at the end of Petey Dogman kind of taking joint custody of little Petey. Like they're not a couple by any means, nor does the movie implicate that kind of relationship. It's just funny. It's like, hey, how about he comes over and hangs with you from time to time? But yeah, I think the climax could have done a little less or focused more on it because you could have had the whole Petey dealing with his dad subplot in its own movie.
Or even just the fact that in the first movie, Petey spends kind of less time being the arch enemy and more, I guess, having his own subplot where he could have been the villain the whole time.
Yeah, no, and I liked Petey's interaction with like what's the other cat prisoner name? Big John or something like that.
Something like that.
And I love like all the little moments in there. Or like when Big John is just like, it's like, look at all these balloons I got for my birthday here. And he gives it to this other muscular cat, and the muscular cat's like, respect. Like, I could have seen them play more of a part than PD dealing with Grandpa in this movie, just because it does just have way too much. I don't know if it's like, oh, we don't know if we're going to get a second season or a sequel movie out of this. Let's put everything into it. Because I know Captain Underpants so far does not have a sequel in the works.
It's a shame because I still have fond memories of that movie.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a very fun movie, and it was a financial hit. So I'm sure they're just waiting for a time and place to make a sequel. Because yeah, I would like to see it. It's not just that one villain from that movie, and I'm sure Dogman has other villains. I just don't know if I am going to remember these other characters. Like Sarah Hadoff being like the parody of the overzealous news reporter was funny, and Isla Fisher did a good job. I also liked hearing Billy Boyd as the Sarah's cameraman Seamus, and Cherry Oteri as the mayor was a lot of fun. I love a lot of the visual gags that they do with her,
Hmm.
but I don't think they're interesting characters, and maybe that's just because like Captain Underpants worked better because it was really the two kids, the principal, and the evil science teacher, and that was it. While they had everyone else like in the background and such. Whereas Dogman, it's really like it's a bigger cast that doesn't always leave with a lasting impression. And again, a lot of that is because Dogman doesn't talk. He just goes through the motions and becomes a good cop, like the quote unquote ideal cop, and that's it. While Petey then takes over the movie's plot.
That's fine. I don't think every character needs to go through like this grand sweeping character arc. Sometimes a movie can just be sort of just ridiculous fun. And this movie is in many points just ridiculous fun. I will admit the supporting cast, while there are a lot of great characters in concept, maybe if we get a sequel or some sort of follow-up, they can get a little bit more development.
I assume they're going to try to make a TV series out of this movie, like they did with the Captain Underpants movie, because that's kind of what DreamWorks likes to do right now. They like to pick movies where they have the most optimized possibility of being a multimedia franchise with like toys and like a TV show and whatnot for Netflix or Peacock or whatever. Like I could see that with this one. Like it would be fun to see all these characters and such again, maybe with like a nice, fun, bubbly 2D animation to it because there's no way they're gonna make this CGI like for a TV show, or at the very least, I would highly recommend anyone who's listening to us if they're working at DreamWorks or if they're already making a TV series for Dogman, please make it 2D. It just works better
Just do what you did for the epic tales of Captain Underpants.
because we see what happens when you take a highly stylized movie and turn it into a TV budget. And that's, turned into the whole Megamind rules and bad guy specials, which, okay, whatever. But when a movie is so heavily reliant on its stylized look, the very least you can do is match it as best as you can in the TV format. Because here's something that I noticed about Dogman. Dogman takes the next step of what Captain Underpants was doing with its stylized CGI look, where it looks more like the Peanuts movie, where while the Captain Underpants movie had really good, vibrant, stretchy animation, it wasn't at that point yet where they're like, "Hey, let's do what we're about to go do with the bad guys and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and such." So now that we're here with this kind of faux stop motion look to the overall look, like to the CGI and what have you. So it's a very good looking movie. That's really the point I'm trying to make. It's just interesting to think about how much evolved from going from Captain Underpants to Dogman.
A lot has happened, not just with DreamWorks, but animation in general over the past like 8 years. We've seen a lot of innovation.
Yeah, so it's cool to see them pushing and doing a lot of interesting things with this new stylized CGI look for a lot of these films. And I don't have much else to say. It's a fun movie. Yes, it's a little overstuffed and the secondary characters are lacking some complexity to them. It still did what it set out to do. It's still an adaptation of Dogman. And while it maybe could have leaned more on some of its more deeper elements, it's still good. I would like to see a sequel. It's already past its budget by the time this episode is recording, so why not? Like
Yeah, I
I'm fine with sequels as long as they're good.
I want to see more of Dave Pilkey's creations like brought to life because so far he's 2 for 2 when it comes to adaptations. And this one, Dogman, really does a great job of bringing to life an idea that he came up with as a second grader. And it really does capture that fun, manic energy. I feel like on multiple rewatches, this movie will definitely be more appreciated on that level.
Yeah, I think like it will probably stay in my top 10 for a little bit until we get into the real meat and potatoes of animation this year. I'll see. It'll be interesting to see if I end up liking this more than the bad guys too. And it's a good way to kick off 2025 in animation. And then, well, everything will just fall into place depending on where things go. Because I think the next batch of films we're going to be talking about are like the Witcher Netflix movie. And then hopefully we either do this via screeners or theatrical releases. Talk about the new Looney Tunes movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up.
which I am very much looking forward to.
Because otherwise, there's just so far not a whole lot going on in animation this year. So hopefully that changes. Hopefully this is a good first step forward and we don't feel the overall slow, drawn out vibe of going multiple months without animated features. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to talk about next time. So, we'll just leave it up in the air.
But until next time, Cameron, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me on Blue Sky at camseyeview.biz. I contribute to a website called Media Magpies, where we are a new venture into the world of media criticism. I have my own website called camseyeview.biz where I review animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseyeview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/Coach K42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.